I explained yesterday on the phone that the source for cutting the garments or the black ribbon comes from the Torah, the very strange episode when the brother Jacob's kids go to the father to tell him that Joseph died. Even if we know the story that Joseph didn't die, Joseph didn't pass away, they just sold him to merchants, and Joseph ended up in Egypt as a slave and then as the second in command. But the brothers went to the father and said to the father, your son Joseph died. And the father got grabbed the putonet pasim, the multicolored coat, and cut. And from there, cutting our garments or the black ribbon is a sign. But I would like to share with you another idea, a personal idea, which is also meaningful. Which is, now we are going to cut the ribbon or to cut your garments. And a section of the ribbon, the lower section or a section of your garments will be separated. But another section of the ribbon or your garment will be connected. Representing that physically, you will be disconnected from Larry forever. However, your heart, your soul, your mind will be together, will be connected with him forever. And for me, that's one of the most powerful messages of the ribbon or the garment. Cutting. It's a symbol that we have to accept, or a situation we have to accept. No more physical connection, but the challenge to be spiritual and in the heart. Always, always present. That's a challenge. It's up to us. How we go.
Excuse me. I can bring the chairs in.
Repeat after me. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Dayan Ha'emet. And I would like to invite everyone to repeat together with the mourners. Adonai Natan, Adonai Lakach, Yehi Shem, Adonai Mevorach. What God gave us, God has taken away. Blessed be the name of God. First of all, I would like to invite Jonah and Asher, grandchildren, to recite Psalm 23 in Hebrew and English.
מזמור לדוד אדוני ראש. רואי לא אסר. בנאות דשא ירביצני על מי מנחות ינהלני. נפשי ושובב ינחני במגלי צדק למען שמו. גם כי אלך בגיא המוות לא ירא רע, כי אתה עמדי שבטך ומשענתך, המה ינחמוני. אערוך בפני שולחן נגד צורריי, ישנת בשמש ראשי כוסי ובעיה. איך טוב וחסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Eulogies are part of the funeral. Our rabbis understood the importance of remembering and at the same time of mentioning the qualities and the maasim tovim, the good actions of the person we are saying goodbye to them. So please, I would like to invite well, first of all, I would like to invite Heather to the podium.
I had a vision on my way walking over here just now of a great synagogue event, sitting next to Daddy and playing with the castle. They said that 4 years ago. Hear me? No. I said I had this incredible vision walking over here. Every synagogue event that we ever went to, sitting next to Daddy and playing with the tallis, the strings on his tallis and braiding them. And that kept me entertained. And so I didn't necessarily have to listen to the surface. Dad, of all the words people use to describe you, father, husband, son, brother, friend, professor, magician, golfer, runner, skier, joker, the one that I think you were the most proud of was Zadie. Brian, Asher, Yael, Jonah, and Ari are all better people for having known you, having learned from you, and having had you as their Zadie. Your family, your brothers, your nieces and nephews and their families have all been impacted by having you a part of their lives. Like you did with Wendy and I, you instilled in all of them a sense of adventure, a drive to accomplish all you can, a sense of humor, and most telling, how to be a shit disturber. Dad, you leave today having left a lasting mark in this world. From an early age, you taught me many life lessons that I've held on to as I try and make my lasting mark in this world. Some were more helpful than others, and some were helpful even if you meant them to be sarcastic. When I bought my first car and took it to the car wash after a week, I noticed there was a dent in the side door. They called you hysterical. You calmly said, Heather, calm down. That's what you do. Go back to the car wash and ask them to put the dirt back in the car. When I called you freaking out, there was a mouse in my apartment and I was standing on my couch because he just ran across the living room. Again, calmly, you said to me, Heather, get off the couch and go buy a mouse trap. When my kids were potty training and I was struggling with how hard it was, you gave me some of the most sage advice that you've ever given me. You said, Heather, they won't go to college in diapers. Dad, it's been difficult for us, for me, to watch you do so much of yourself. And I know how difficult it was for you. But know that I saw you in spite of the illness. Still telling jokes, still playing games, still doing all the magic that you did. You could have taken it easier on me in Canasta, but then that wouldn't be you. I will be forever grateful that you knew about Chris and I on the next part of my journey, even though I'm saddened that you won't be here for me. Dad, I'll miss your advice. I'll miss the joking, the razzing, the philosophizing, and mostly your ability to be an SB. I'll miss your sage advice and your pushing me constantly to do better. I know that I will carry that with me always, but it won't be the same. Dad, there's so much more that I can say and so many more stories I can tell. And I wish I could. I love you. We love you. You will always be part of our hearts and our memories and part of who we all are. You've made a mark on everyone you've interacted with, your children, grandchildren, your students, friends, doctors, nurses, waitresses, receptionists. Anyone who's been fortunate enough to have met you will be telling stories of that interaction for years to come, as the Smith family regularly does. Dad, I'm comforted to know that you've just joined the party that Zadie, Bubby, and Uncle Mark are having. Please let them know we love them and miss them. I know this is goodbye for now, but not for now.
Wendy.
When I was 12 years old, Dad and I ran our first race together, an 8K at the David Kosnak JCC. We started running together. We would go out running, and then we would hop in the car and drive the route so we knew how far we went. In those early days, we went about 2 miles, so we really had no business to run a 4.6 mile race. And in fact, we were so far behind that Mom had to stop them from taking down the finish line before we got in. But as we turned the corner to the very end, Dad decided that he had to, and we were running neck and neck, Dad decided that he had to pull ahead of me. So he sprinted to the end to get in before me, and did. But when the awards came around, it turns out that I won first place in my division. And only place, to be clear. He has not let me live that down, ever. That story became family lore. And that moment and the story that it reveals so much about you, Dad. My dad was determined. He would set his sights on goals and then sprint to the end.
He was president of his engineering class at McGill University. As a PhD student at SUNY Buffalo, studying decision sciences. His goals as a devoted member of the International Brotherhood of Magicians. He also welcomed new challenges. Running was something that he started to do in his 40s, and although he was certainly fit as a skier, a tennis player, a golfer, running was new for him. He didn't shy away from new things. Technology was one area that he didn't shy away from. We were among the early adopters to have a Radio Shack Trash 80 in our house. I remember when he and Uncle Marv took the class at Radio Shack together. Their stories of what they learned had very little to do with computers and more to do with the ramble-rousing that they caused. As a professor at FIU for 36 years, he was the one who organized the first computer lab in the business school. And Dad also loved new adventures. Just a few weeks ago when I was in Florida spending time with him, he was telling stories of the summer adventures of the engineering students from McGill when they would go up to northern Quebec for survey school or to Labrador to help construct the ballistic anti-missile satellite. Stories that focused less on the engineering and more on how they raced the 18-wheelers and how you had to put the car out of gear to win the race. He and Uncle Ernie traveled around Europe for 10 months together, meeting up with my mom and with Rocky for 2 of those months. Those stories included the times that he and Uncle Ernie needed to steal their car from Turkish immigration, the times that they worked picking oranges on an Israeli kibbutz, Uncle Ernie, there's more stories about that. He returned from Europe to come back so that he could propose to my mom in Saratoga Springs, New York, for a marriage of 54 years. Mom, he knew how lucky he was to be married to you. Something that I heard often, especially and most poignantly at the end, as you took such incredible care of him. He continued to be an adventurous traveler. When I was young, he traveled often for work. He would teach executives project management all over the United States, and Heather and I would wait for him to come back from the airport with a pennant from the city that he was in so we could hang it up in our playroom and have a piece of him with us. When I was 12 and Heather was 13, my dad was invited to be a visiting professor in Shanghai, China, an early ambassador in China when few foreign visitors were traveling there. He went over in April. Before we joined him in the summer, he would record his stories for us on tape cassettes, send them back to us on a slow mail. We would all crowd around the tape player to listen to the stories of the strong smell of the fish market right across the street from his bedroom, the hard seats on the train, and many, many bicycles. I think his greatest adventure was being a Zadie. Whenever I came to visit, my dad would always have a date with me for breakfast, just the 2 of us. We'd chat about work, we'd chat about my life, but then his eyes would light up with lots of enthusiasm when I would tell him stories about Jonah, Yael, and Ari. He always wanted to hear what they were up to, what they were learning, what they loved doing. Of course, no eulogy about my dad would be complete without a mention of his role as a magician. One time, of many, he was trying out a new magic trick with me. He had me pick a card, look at it, put it back into the deck, shuffle, and hand it to him. He then took the cards and turned them over face up one by one, and then said to me, how much will you bet that the next card I turn over will be your card? Well, he had already turned over my card, so I was sure it would not be the next card. So I said, $1 million. And he went right to my card and flipped it back the other way. He has not let me live it down that I have been in debt to him for $1 million since then. My mom wanted me to remind all of us how much he loved making people laugh, up until the very end. As she shared with so many of you that have been calling and connecting with us in the last couple of days, his favorite last joke went like this. I named my dog 6 Miles so that I could tell everyone I walk 6 miles a day. Every day. This week's Parsha that we read from the Torah, the part of the Torah that we read from, Parsha Tetzaveh, is the Parsha when Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, dies. As my friend Rachel pointed out to me, and as Michael pointed out to me, his yahrzeit is the same as Moshe Rabbeinu. And as our friend Chaim pointed out to me, this is the only Parsha in the last 4 books of the Torah that does not have Moshe's name in it at all. And part of the drash, part of what the rabbis say about that, is that this Parsha is about how Moshe leaves a legacy, how he stands aside at this moment to hand over the baton to Aaron, his brother, and to Aaron's sons. It turns out, as my mom pointed out to me as well, or reminded me, Tetzaveh was my bat mitzvah parsha. Dad, I know that you are leaving an incredible legacy. I know that you have had a life well lived, of achieving goals, of being an adventurer, of being determined, of being fun, of entertaining people, and as Heather said, of being a shit disturber. I know you leave an incredible legacy in your children, in particularly your grandchildren, and in all the people who are here with us today and joining us virtually, whose lives you've touched deeply. And I know that you really should have gotten that trophy from that 8K race. I love you, Dad. May your soul rest peacefully.
Jennifer.
Yes. Perfect. Today, we honor, celebrate, and remember my uncle, Larry. He was a man of strength, knowledge, humor, and magic. He had many roles in our lives, and we called him by many names. Doctor, professor, uncle, brother, LAS, president of the I Love Uncle Larry Club, prestidigitator, sport. He loved to wow people, and if he were here today, he'd try to distract us from the pain, even if just for a minute. One thing he might do at this point is start a conversation about a trip he had to a chiropractor. He'd draw you in,
He'd say, listen, you think I have a problem? Crack! With a plastic cup hidden under his armpit, he'd make a noise that would make you launch right out of your skin. You'd forget about the pain for just that one moment. Above all else, he loved and he valued his family. In them, he leaves an example for us, and he leaves a lasting legacy. Uncle Larry was the oldest of the three Smith boys. My dad was his baby brother, and my dad would be the first to tell you that he won the brother lottery. In Uncle Larry, he found a running and skiing partner, a role model, an idol. In Uncle Ernie, he got a business partner and a best friend. And when the three of them were together, it was really something special. Even growing up through long, dark winters in a small house in Montreal, Bubby would be thrilled to tell you that they never fought. And when Uncle Larry's career took him to Florida, the three of them made a bold and intentional decision to keep the family together. And so when they moved, we did too. Once in Florida, Uncle Larry, Uncle Ernie, and my dad repeatedly demonstrated their commitment to our family. There were always lots of family get-togethers, Sunday night dinners when Bubby and Zadie were in town, shared family birthday celebrations, and holidays, including special Passovers each year, feasts created by Aunt Jewel, with Zadie Phil at the head of the table, Uncle Larry as his wingman, and my dad as the simple son. In addition to these regular occasions, we had special moments. When I was a kid, my family went out for dinner every Friday night. Nowhere special, just to get out of the house. What made the night special was what happened after we ate. Before cell phones and instant communication, we would sometimes just drop in. It seems like a ridiculous idea to me now. But we would just turn up unannounced with no prior planning to Aunt Jewel and Uncle Larry's house. Aunt Jewel would drop whatever she was doing and greet us with a smile and a welcome. She might have yelled to the back of the house, "Larry, put some pants on. Marvin, the kids are here." And as soon as Uncle Larry came out, he was ready to entertain us. Uncle Larry always had a new trick, a game, or a puzzle. He was ready to go. Most of all, he was always happy to see us. He made us feel welcomed and loved. The Smith family gatherings have continued over the years and new in different ways, including a new generation of family members, and most recently a pool party just a few weeks ago. Part of Uncle Larry's great legacy is the continuation of and the value of family in me and my sister Jamie, in our kids playing together, and in our cousins and their kids. Uncle Larry leaves behind an incredible family and legacy. He spent his career as a professor and consultant. With his creative ideas and unique and entertaining speaking style, he traveled all over the globe and delivering lectures and talks. Uncle Larry was not just my dad's role model, he was mine too. And like Wendy and Michael, I followed him into a career in academia. His daughter Heather had the rare privilege of getting to work alongside him in one of her first jobs as a consultant at IBM. And her early career experiences contribute to her success today. Uncle Larry was gifted with a quick wit and an ability to speak to and engage his audiences. And his grandson Ryan displays these unique talents as he is an announcer at sporting events. Uncle Larry was competitive and he loved to play games. Like him, Asher enjoys games and is a great sport. Uncle Larry was proud to be a mathematician and he taught a very analytical subject. Jonah demonstrates that analytic skill. Teaching statistics and other analytic topics can be dry and boring. But Uncle Larry didn't just want to teach his students. He wanted to entertain them. Like him, Yael and Ari have found joy in entertaining others. And I know all of this because Uncle Larry told me. He also told me recently about how he had gotten to know and love Chris. He was incredibly proud of each of you. He loved you very much. And it's comforting to see his legacy live on through each of you. Aunt Jewel, Uncle Larry wouldn't have, couldn't have been who he was without you. You were his rock. You supported him with grace, and you cared for him with strength and warmth. During his working years, you managed to simultaneously work, run the house, raise the kids, giving him the confidence and freedom to travel and focus on his own work. Your endurance and energy allowed you to take care of your family while maintaining and developing a large orbit of close friends and family. Since then, you've cared for so many people. You cared for your parents. You cared for his parents. You cared for my parents. And you cared for me and my baby when I needed you the most. We are all grateful for your strength. When Uncle Larry got sick, you took incredibly wonderful and unwavering care of him. We have all felt your warmth. Uncle Larry was fortunate to have you. Uncle Larry, whenever I see a good magic trick, I'll think of you. And whenever someone asks me how I did something that I've worked hard and practiced, I will tell them very well. You leave behind a loving family and a long legacy. Uncle Larry, I love you, and you will be missed.
You're gonna come back.
Wasn't going to say anything, but I decided this morning I should. So I remind myself that all the Smiths always put on a good show and said a lot already. Sadie was known for making a grand entrance. Oh yeah, sorry, this is for the show. Although it does remind me of the time that Sadie shaved his beard and they didn't even recognize her again, so maybe it's appropriate. Sadie always made a grand entrance and a grand exit. As Wendy said, this is Moshe Rabbeinu's yahrzeit as well, Adar 7th, and the day he was born as well. Known to be our greatest teacher, I was thinking about the ways and the things that Sadie taught me. Start a conversation with, do you like magic? It opens up many doors. The magic of laughter is contagious in the classroom, at home, and in its ability to help you make connections with people of all ages in the strangest of moments. Wendy already commented on the $1 million debt that I hope we are forgiven at this time. And I want to apologize to Sadie for always being your toughest audience. He would always bring the trick last to me because I would always try and catch him on how he did it. But Sadie, you always did it very well. He cared about traditions and the cycle of life. I always thought that calling you Zadie was weird. To me, that title belonged to your dad, Zadie Phil. One of my memories of him is how proud he was every time we came to the Castel Royale and went to services. and he would make sure I had some aliyah or anim zmirot or something, just to carry on the tradition in life of Judaism. And to be able to turn backwards to everyone and say, that's my grandson, to be. Zadie Phil passed away right before our wedding. And I always wondered whether he knew about the traditions that he set forth, that we all carried on. But I see in his family how much he did. And it made me reflect on Zadie passing right before he could welcome in his son-in-law to be. But knowing that it was going to happen, I know made him really happy. I think Zadie was the name you treasured the most. He was a planner, always did a lot of work behind the scenes. At least that's what he allowed us to believe. So you spoke to Jewel. Turned out she did most of his work behind the scenes, organizing the magic tricks, perhaps, and everything else. Every accolade from his life is shared with you, Mommy. As a planner, Zadie, your yard site is actually the same week as my dad's. You didn't need to give Wendy and I another bomb to share, but thank you for that thoughtfulness. Thank you for giving me the greatest gift of all, your daughter. Her light shines brightly because of you as a professor, through her professional drive, her ability to connect with people, her love for Judaism, her zest for life, and most of all, your love for family. I know your memory will be a blessing because your memory will live a long time in ours. But
I would like to invite Ryan.
Ari's going to go next.
Yeah, he's ready.
Ari?
I'm going to go for you.
All right.
Lady. Baby children. Tell everything story with him. We'll be here for about an hour. Girls, the back in together. I'm her last year back. He wanted. I enjoyed it. He enjoyed it. Always had a way of making me smile. Whether that was a joke, I gave it back to him. We would talk together, stay together. Nothing. This was it. I'll never let go.
Two poems by Ryan and Yael. Not cinematic. Not cinematic. I'm not there. I do not see. I'm 1,000 winds that blow. I'm the diamond glints on snow. I am the sunlight on ripened grain.
I'm the gentle autumn's rain. You awaken in the morning hush. I'm the swift uplifting rush of quiet birds and circles. I'm the soft star that shines at night. Just stand in my grave and cry. I'm not there. I did not die. As mentioned before, Zadie impacted all of us. He lives through his grandchildren. As his oldest grandchildren, I was fortunate enough to spend the most time with him. The lessons he taught of hard work, determination, SDM. Stick with him. As the biggest SD in my house, I'm proudly carry on his legacy. And do these values of never giving up and cherishing family I'll carry on forever. In MVZ, he did the most for us. And always wanted to make us smile, laugh, and he was a character. And I think that's what I want to carry on the most.
Take off your mask.
Of the deck. You say loud. Do not come when I am dead, to sit beside a low green mound, or bring the first day daffodil, because I love you so. For I shall not be there. You cannot find me there. I will look up at you from the eyes of little children. I will bend to meet you in the swaying bark of bud-thrilled trees, and caress you with the passionate sweep of a storm-filled wind. I will give you strength in your upward thread of everlasting hills. I will cool your tired body in the flow of the limpid river. I will warm your work-glorified hands with the glow of the winter fire. I will soothe you into forgetfulness to the drop of the rain on the roof. I will speak to you out of the rhymes of the master. I will dance with you in the lilt of the violin, and make your heart leap with the bursting cadence of an organ. I will flood your soul with the flaming radiance of the sunrise. I will bring you peace in the tender rose and gold of the after sunset. All these have made me happy. They are a part of me, and I shall become a part of them.
When King David wrote the Psalms, or at least our sages attributed him the 150 Psalms in the Bible. When he wrote the Psalms, he opened the first one, not praising God, but speaking about Ashrei Aish, Asher lo alach be'atzat reshai. Happy is the man who did not follow the counsel of the wicked. Maybe King David imagined the life of God. אשרי האיש אשר לא הלך בעצת רשעים, ובדרך חטאים לא עמד, ובמושב ליצים לא ישב. כי אם בתורת אדוני חפצו, ובתורתו בגיא יומם ולילה. והיה כעץ שתול על פלגי מים, אשר פריו ייתן ביתו, ועלהו לא יבול, בכל אשר יעשה יצליח. לא כן הרשעים, כי אם כמוץ אשר תדפנו רוח. על כן לא יקרו רשעים, במשפט וחטאים, בעדת צדיקים. כי יודע אדוני דרך צדיקים, ודרך רשעים תאבד. As someone told me Larry didn't want the rabbi to speak on his funeral, say a few words of eulogy because no rabbi knew him. But I would challenge Larry's words because I knew him. I didn't know Larry in the full measure of who Larry was. But I will share with you what I knew from him. From the many times I met Larry, I remember two significant moments in his life. One, on Jules' bat mitzvah. His face when he went up to the Torah. And he said something like I will never miss to go up to the Torah at Jules' bat mitzvah. Something like, how can I miss being here? And that describes the type of person he was. The other moment of Larry's life I remember is last Simchat Torah. You both came to the front of the synagogue. The building was closed, but we decided to do the akafot outside because of COVID. Larry was on the wheelchair. But you both decided that Larry wants to dance. And you, June, you pushed the wheelchair. And you were both dancing with the Torah. That show of happiness, celebrating Torah and celebrating life, speaks more. Do I know Larry? Do I have the right to say a few words? You know, from the many aspects of his life, I would like to take one aspect. Not the one you can imagine. Not about his tenure as a professor, his PhD, his family. I will speak about magics. Because today's Torah portion, Tetzaveh, speaks about magics. Magic was forbidden in the Torah. Magicians were forbidden. Consulting forecast was forbidden. However, in today's Torah portion, when God explains to Moses and Aaron and the people of Israel that they have to prepare a breastplate with one stone for each one of the tribes of the people of Israel, there were two additional stones called Urim and Tumim that the high priest used to forecast the future of a war, or the future of the people of Israel, or the future of the king at certain particular moment. And that was magic. A trick? I don't know. A way to instill hope and faith? No. But the point is that every religion needs a little bit of magic. A little bit of secrets. Because if everything is revealed, we lose that mystics we need in life. And I believe that Larry understood and found his own way to bring it to life, to bring it to his family, to bring it to whoever was there. Mystery and magic is much. Their words, their answers that we will never understand. There are tricks that we will never understand. There are moments in life that we will never understand. There are questions that we will never find the answer. But they are here. And it's part of it. The Torah also speaks about garments. The garments that the high priest had to use for the rituals. And when a person dies, wears a garment called tahrihin that has a special condition. The tahrihin had and has no pockets. Our last garments are made out of pockets. We do not take anything with us. On the other hand, we leave memories. We leave legacy. And Larry leaves everything you mentioned and your goal. Your challenge is to keep him alive and to replicate his life, fulfilling his God, fulfilling his dreams and desires, taking care of yourself, and taking care of children, taking care of the family, and most of all, taking care of your memories. Tei nishmatot tzura v'tzora hayim, may his soul be bound up with the soul of the living. May Larry's example inspire all of us. I would like to invite the family to throw over the casket holy earth from the Mount of Olives. Large family. A lot of sand in this room. What else?
Excuse them, Rabbi.
Sorry. El Malarrahami, Shochen Bameromi, אמצא מנוחה נכונה, תחת כנפי השכינה, במעלות קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע, מזהירים את נשמת אריה בן פסח ופגה, שהלך לעולמו בגן עדן מנוחתו. אנא בעל הרחמים, אז תראה בסתר כנפיך לעולמים, וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתו, אדוני הוא נחלתו, וינוח בשלום על משכבו, ונאמר Amen. El Malay Rachamim, exalted, compassionate God, grant eternal rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure, the soul of Arielei Ben Pesach Befega, has gone to his eternal home. Merciful One, we find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life. May he rest in peace. Let us say, Amen. Nice to throw her now or after the Kaddish?
After.
Okay, the Kaddish and finish it. So reciting the mourner's Kaddish said that the funeral is over and we start the mourning period. I will invite after the recitation of the Kaddish everyone whose heart moves in that direction to throw over the casket 3 shovels full of earth, and then leaving the cemetery with a traditional expression of condolences to the family. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, אמן. בעלמא דיברה חילותי וימים מלכותי. בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי בכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהא שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולם. יתברך וישתבח ויתבהר ויתרומם ויתנשא. ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי וקדושה בריחו. נהנה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תוש וקתה ונחמתה והמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יש לה רב עמים שמיה, חיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן. המקום ינחם אתכם בתוך שער אבלי ציון בירושלים. May God support you among the mourners of the people of Zion and Jerusalem. המקום ינחם אתכם בתוך שער אבלי ציון בירושלים.
Ladies and gentlemen who are viewing remotely, this concludes the services at graveside. On behalf of the family as well as Levitt Weinstein Memorial Chapels, I thank you so much for your attendance.